A man had his feet forced into leather boots, secure beside a fire. And as the leather tightened from the heat, it burned the flesh clean off his bones. That was day 1. They still had many days remaining. They spread honey in his open wounds and let a goat lick them raw, set his shirt ablaze while he was still wearing it, burned his hand away with a red-hot iron glove. And on the final day, they tore his heart from his chest and hurled it at his face. Court records state he was still alive when they did it. That is number 1 on this list. There are 19 more. Every single one is real. Every single one was legal, and every single one was witnessed by a crowd who gathered there on purpose. Let's begin with number 20. Death by pillory. Everyone thinks the pillory was only public humiliation. Take a few rotten eggs. Go home. But when the crowd wanted you dead, your hands were locked in wooden boards, your head was fixed in place, and you could not defend yourself in any way. A man informed on several others and sent them to the gallows using false testimony. So when the court secured him into the pillory, the crowd arrived with stones, bricks, and glass bottles. His face became unrecognizable within minutes. He bled out within the hour, still trapped in the boards. Not a single person in that crowd was arrested. The government killed people without ever laying a hand on them. If a mob with rocks sounds brutal, wait until you hear what they did when they actually tried. Let's move to number 19. William Wallace. Braveheart showed maybe 10% of what happened. They stripped Wallace naked, tied him to a horse, and dragged him for miles through cobblestone streets that tore the flesh from his back. Then they hanged him, but cut him down alive, opened his abdomen, and pulled his intestines out while he watched, burning them on a fire inches from his face, cut his heart from his chest. Only then did they remove his head. The king still was not satisfied. He cut the body into 4 parts, sent them to 4 cities, dipped the head in tar, and mounted it on a spike on London Bridge for years. That execution was meant to send a message. Wallace's death does not even reach the top 15. That should trouble you. Here comes number 18. Keel hauling. They tied a sailor to a rope, threw him overboard, and dragged him beneath the ship's hull to the opposite side. Every wooden ship's underside was coated with barnacles, calcium shells as sharp as shattered glass. Around half the victims drowned during the passage. Survivors emerged with skin torn down to muscle and barnacle fragments embedded so deep surgeons could not remove them. Most then died from infection within the week. Captain John Smith witnessed one and described the body as looking like something wild animals had attacked. Keel hauling at least ended within minutes. What the next man devised was meant to last far longer. Next one is number 17. The Brazen Bull. A metal craftsman constructed a hollow bronze bull for the tyrant. Lock a person inside, ignite a fire beneath, roast him alive. The unique feature, tubes inside the bull's head that transformed screams into sounds resembling a real bull's bellow. The tyrant listened to the tone, then ordered the craftsman to climb inside and tested it himself. He became the first victim of his own creation. Years later, when the people overthrew the tyrant, they burned him alive inside the same bull. The device he built to terrorize others became the device that killed him. The brazen bull killed relatively quickly. The Vikings, they took their time. Let's move to number 16. The Blood Eagle. They pinned you face down, sliced your back open along the spine, severed each rib from the backbone with an axe, bent the loosened ribs outward to form eagle wings, then pulled your lungs out through the opening and draped them over the rib cage. Recent findings confirmed the procedure was physically possible. Blood loss from the rib separation would push someone into shock within minutes. The lungs were likely torn out after death purely as a warning. If you think carving someone's ribs open is as inventive as it gets, you have not heard what they train elephants to do. Here comes number 15. Execution by elephant. For over 2,000 years, rulers across India and Southeast Asia trained war elephants to execute prisoners on command. These animals crushed limbs one at a time, feet first, skull last. Some hurled prisoners into the air. Others carried iron blades fastened to their tusks. The terrifying part was control. The ruler could command the elephant to pause, slow down, or stop. Some prisoners received pardons mid-execution as a display of power. Others endured a death lasting over an hour. Elephants destroyed you from the outside. This next device worked from the inside 1 inch at a time. Next one is number 14. The Judas Cradle. A tall frame with a sharpened pyramid on top. They stripped you naked, hoisted you by the wrists, and lowered you onto the point. Your body weight did the rest, pulling you down fraction by fraction over hours or days. The executioners controlled the pace, raising you up, dropping you back down again and again. Nobody cleaned the device between prisoners. Deep wounds combined with bacteria from every prior victim and guaranteed infection. Survivors almost always died within the week. You would think a sharpened pyramid is as cruel as it gets. Then you read what the Assyrians carved on their own palace walls. Here comes number 13. Flaying alive. They stripped the skin from your body while you were conscious. Stone carvings from ancient palaces depict soldiers removing skin from prisoners who were upright and clearly breathing. Skilled executioners could extend the process across hours. Your body survives a horrifying amount of skin loss before shock ends it. And they used that to the fullest. Cities that saw their leader's skin on display surrendered instantly the next time the army appeared. Flaying required precision. What comes next needed nothing but a hammer and an audience. Let's move to number 12. Breaking on the wheel. Standard legal punishment across Europe for centuries. They secured you to a wooden wheel, and an executioner crushed every major bone with an iron hammer. Legs, thighs, forearms, upper arms. Between blows, they tore flesh with red-hot pincers. After the breaking, they wove your shattered body through the spokes, raised the wheel on a pole, and left you on display. Many victims survived and remained alive for days while birds landed on them and began feeding. Somehow what comes next is even more disturbing. Next one is number 11. Rat torture. A metal container filled with live rats placed upside down on your bare stomach. Hot coals stacked on top. As the metal heated, the rats panicked, and the only escape path was straight down through your skin, through your abdominal wall, and into your body cavity. Rats chew through concrete. A panicked rat tore through a human abdomen in under 30 minutes. Most prisoners confessed the moment they saw the device. The sight of rats scratching inside a metal container on their stomach broke them before a single coal was lit. All of that sounds medieval, but Rome turned execution into something worse. An entire system. Let's move to number 10. Crucifixion. Rome put tens of thousands of people on crosses over centuries, designing every step for maximum suffering. First, a whip embedded with bone fragments and iron hooks built specifically to tear muscle from bone. Many prisoners never survived the whipping. Survivors carried a heavy crossbeam to the execution site. Once nailed through the wrists and feet, death came through slow suffocation. Your lungs compressed beneath your sagging body weight. Every breath required pushing upward on the nails through your feet. Every push brought agony. Death took many hours to several days. Crucifixion is the most well-known execution in history. It has not reached the top 5 here. That tells you everything about what is coming. Number 9. Sawing in half. They suspended you by the ankles and sawed from the groin downward. The inversion forced blood into your brain, keeping you conscious far longer than your body should have allowed. You did not lose consciousness until the saw reached around your navel. Everything below that you felt completely. When multiple civilizations developed the same execution without ever comparing methods, that tells you something deeply unsettling about human nature. It took maybe an hour. The next method stretched the dying across more than 2 weeks. Next one is number 8. Scaphism. They trapped you between 2 boats with your head, hands, and feet exposed, force-fed you milk and honey until severe diarrhea set in, smeared more honey across your eyes, ears, and genitals, then pushed you into a stagnant swamp and walked away. Flies arrived within hours, then wasps, then beetles. They laid eggs in your eyes and ears. Larvae hatched inside you and ate their way through living tissue. Every few days, captors returned, force-fed you again to prevent starvation, and left. One man survived for many days. When they pried the boats apart, barely anything recognizable remained. Many days of being consumed by insects, kept alive on purpose so the feeding would not stop. You would assume that is the limit. Stay with me because it is not. Let's move to number 7. Impalement. A rounded, oiled stake driven through the body from below, angled to miss the heart, so you stayed alive. Set upright, gravity pulled you downward for up to several days. When your forest of corpses frightened even the greatest conquerors, you have achieved something nobody else in history can claim. Even this killed relatively quickly. What comes next at not? Here comes number 6. Lynching, death by 1,000 cuts. Not a metaphor, a real legal punishment enforced for 1,000 consecutive years. The executioner removed slices of flesh from the living body with a blade. Piece by piece, the court decided the number of cuts, sometimes 8, sometimes over 100. Worse sentences stretched across multiple days. Lynching lasted hours or days. The next one often killed in minutes, but those minutes contained more concentrated agony than almost anything else on this list. Next one is number 5, burning at the stake. Tens of thousands of people burned alive across Europe over centuries. Dry wood and thick smoke could render you unconscious quickly, but green wood or distant flames meant you burned alive for over an hour fully aware. Burning was one act. England's treason punishment was 3 acts. Same person, same day. Here comes number 4. Hanged, drawn, and quartered. England's treason sentence for centuries. Dragged through streets behind a horse. Hanged but cut down alive. Then, while you were still conscious, they sliced your abdomen open, pulled your intestines out by hand, and burned them before your face. Then beheaded. Then cut into 4 pieces and sent around the country as displays. Only for men. Women convicted of treason were burned alive instead because the legal system considered that more modest. Yeah, what happened to the next man makes even this seem restrained. Next one is number 3. A man grazed the king with a small penknife, barely a wound. But tens of thousands gathered for what followed. They burned his knife hand with sulfur until bones showed, ripped flesh from his body with red-hot pincers, poured molten lead, boiling oil, and burning resin into every wound, tied 4 horses to his limbs, and drove them apart for over an hour. His body refused to tear apart. Executioners finally cut his tendons with knives before the horses could finish. He screamed through most of it. Wealthy women rented balcony seats and ate refreshments while watching. 2 to 4 hours start to finish. The man at number 2 watched his entire family die first. Let's move to number 2. He mobilized tens of thousands in the largest indigenous rebellion the continent had ever seen. When they captured him, they wanted to destroy the idea of resistance itself. They forced him to watch as they executed his uncle, his captains, his eldest son, one by one. Then his wife, one of the rebellion's top strategists. The device malfunctioned, so the executioners kicked her, struck her, and strangled her by hand while her husband watched. After all of that, they cut his tongue out, tied 4 horses to his limbs. The horses failed, so they cut his head off, hacked him apart, and sent pieces across the land. Then they tried to erase an entire civilization because of one man. But what happened to number 1 makes even this look merciful. And the last one is number 1. Every entry on this list lasted hours, maybe a day. This one lasted many days. He assassinated a major leader. Guards seized him instantly. And what the authorities unleashed over the following weeks remains the most extreme recorded execution in the Western world. Night 1. They whipped his back into raw flesh, smeared honey into every wound, and brought in a goat to lick the honey away. The rough tongue tore every cut back open. They repeated it. Then they sealed his feet in tight leather shoes and held them near fire. The leather tightened, cooked the flesh inside, and when the shoes came off, the skin came with them, foot bones exposed. Over the following days, they branded his armpits with heated irons, hung weights from his toes, dressed him in an alcohol-soaked shirt, and set it on fire, tore flesh from multiple places with red-hot pincers, dislocated both shoulders. On the final day, they burned his right hand to bone inside a red-hot iron glove tore flesh in more places, quartered him alive, cut his heart from his chest, and hurled it in his face. Witnesses swore under oath he was still alive at that point. Then they removed his head. Court records confirm every detail. And across all those days, he never broke, never begged, told his captors repeatedly that he would do it all again. His jailers wrote that his endurance was inhuman. Many days. No entry on this list, or any list ever recorded, comes close. If you made it through all 20, you're built differently. Next week, we are going even deeper into the chapters of history nobody touches. Subscribe so you do not miss it, and click that video on screen too.